Wired Axcess.
We'll do it live.
Wired Access.
Do it live.
Wired Access.
We'll do it live.
Wired Axcess.
Welcome to Wired Access Podcast, where I'm your host, DJ K-Dub Omaha. We are a production of Hurrdat Sports. To my left today, I am bringing back someone that was actually here over a year ago, one of the OG shows, one of the first ones. Coach Hammond, he is now the strength and conditioning coach at Northwest High School for the Huskies. But I could tell you, man, what I am seeing and believing is all in the actions that you're doing with these kids. And I think we just had last week, we had someone that ran Balloon Elite, and the biggest thing that he talked about is giving these kids belief. Yep. Letting them understand how important someone can believe in them. Doesn't matter who, but if one person starts, it's like a trickle effect. Yeah. What I've noticed about your videos, and if you don't follow him, he's on TikTok, we'll get all that information out, because it's stuff that's not your everyday thing that would wear some kid out to where they don't want to come back. Yeah. I saw a lot of different actions. I saw a lot of competitions. They don't know what's going on. You know what's going on mentally, physically. This last year, what all has developed for you? Obviously, you were doing some things with football and stuff, and now talk about this last year, and then we'll catch up to where you are now.
So, what was it, 2 years ago when we had Coach Fant was over at Northwest coaching football as offensive coordinator, doing that for the longest time. And he allowed me to kind of do the strength and conditioning for the football team. I was having fun with that, but it was kind of one of those things where you think you know what you're doing, but you have no idea. And then when that coaching staff kind of dissolved, I wanted to take a step back, and I just felt like, God was calling me to do something different. I wasn't necessarily happy, and I was actually having conversations with Chris before then saying, hey, like, I got 3 kids now. I just feel like the time and effort I'm putting in just wasn't really, producing the fruit that I wanted. And so I wanted to take a step back, and then I started kind of just, the older we get, the more we want to learn, I guess. And so I started just listening to a bunch of podcasts, and then strength and conditioning podcasts, because that was still one of my interests. And then they kind of just talked about, going back and getting your master's in exercise science and so on and so forth. So it kind of just, put everything together and go, well, why don't I just start teaching strength and conditioning for all the athletes? And so we started doing that this year, and had a lot of success with it. And going back to UNK to get my master's in exercise science, took a couple classes, got my national certification for high school strength and conditioning, got an RPR certification. So just trying to get my certifications. And like I said earlier, you grow up in the weight room. I was fortunate enough. I grew up with my dad, who put us in the weight room at 6th grade, but even in college and going through all that. But then once I actually started doing my research, I was like, I had no idea what I was doing. So it's just that ignorance. And that's, that's the great thing about getting older, is we become more wise, but started learning a lot, and just the more intricate details. It's like playing middle school football, and then you go to high school, and it's like, oh, so yes, this is the basic, but I was on level A, but there's still B, C, D, E, F, and all that. So being able to learn that this year has been a lot of fun. And then I've also been blessed having my kids on my own and working with them. And then I find out the more, like you were saying, the more I make things fun, the more or less work they think they're doing. And
mental game.
And that's what gives them to come back. And you know what? That's what, and competition brings out a lot in people. But it's one thing to have competition, but make it a game too, to where, we just did, we're doing.
You did tic-tac-toe, I think I saw last week. That was like, just thinking of a simple game. You got the X's and O's, and it's a little 5-yard back and forth. Yep. But in their mind, they're like, no, I'm going to get my X here. I'm going to get my O here. And then I saw people slipping and falling, and you're like,
screaming, hollering, having some fun.
And it doesn't, for them, they have no idea. You're like, but in due time, you're constantly testing them out, stuff like that. Yep. Who was possibly a podcast or someone you really took a lot to? Because you got that. And then do you physically have anybody here in town that you can kind of resort to and kind of because I think for the success of a strength and conditioning coach, like you said, is constantly learning.
Yeah.
But it's also just as what you were already doing in football, except for you're looking at X's and O's, and now you're looking at, okay, no, that's how this leg muscle can gain, and how. So you're having to switch it to obviously the physical part of the body. Have you dealt with someone locally that you feel like you can feel comfort in and bounce back and forth?
So going back to the first step, shout out to my admin. So last year, my admin sent me out to a strength and conditioning, Hammer Strength and Conditioning Clinic in Cincinnati, and I met Tommy Moffitt, who was kind of one of the OGs. He was at LSU for the longest. Texas A&M actually just hired him, and
Ooh, that
and
could
he
be
has
scary.
he has a podcast. And so I just started kind of listening to him, and then that's what kind of got things going, and then. We have you wouldn't think about it, but Omaha, Nebraska itself is actually very well structured with strength and conditioning staffs. So just a couple of names. Started with Kurt Pullman, obviously,
Oh yes, Kurt.
he's
He
a
is.
G. He's taught me just quite a bit. I like to go and just check him out every time I can. He is awesome. He kind of started to plant that seed a little bit.
And when he starts the planning, he's a follow up. It ain't. I'm gonna just set this seed here and let it grow. I'm gonna find ways to make sure to follow up on it.
And he's the one that got me into the RPR. So I don't know if you've ever seen your son do that before, but I'm sitting there, they're working out and they're doing all these things. I'm like, what are they doing? He goes, yeah, it's this RPR stuff. And then kind of looked it up. And then I tried doing it on myself and I was like, okay. And then I took the certification course and got the certification, so getting better with it. But I mean, I feel a big difference. Our student athletes are starting to kind of feel the difference, and that's been awesome. But Coach Nick Krause over at Platteview is amazing. I went and checked him out a couple times. Coach Mimic at Bennington is another great resource I've had.
I don't know about you, but I've seen these programs start turning up the heat. To be honest, I mean, Bennington's been in a lot of championships.
Yeah.
Didn't they just win either this year or last year? I know they won one of these most recent ones.
Football.
And it's like these people are taking the knowledge and just think of where you were, let's just say in OPS at South High and your way through, and you see the strength that we were trying to do. How does this make you go, gosh, I wish I would have done this sooner?
Yeah. And that was Coach Bustede too. Actually, he's the one that really, really got me going, because he just put a little bit more detail into it and kind of got some stuff from him. And then, but if we would have, I wish I would have known more back then, but I mean, that's just always how it is.
Yes,
so, I mean, it's even like taking a look when I was in high school. I wish I would have known that. I mean, just how much better of an athlete you could have been. Even when I was in college, the stuff that we're doing at our high school is a lot more intricate and just detail oriented than what we even had at a Division II level college. Given the take that was 10 or so, almost 10, more than 10 years ago.
More than 10 years.
Man.
Trust me, last week I had Tyler Hall on. Tyler Hall was a part of he was the sophomore class when I first started football coaching.
Gosh, yeah.
And that's what's hard,
men.
Man. Yeah. They're men. They got kids. They got their own family, and it's these. I mean, I think you and I met maybe 10 years ago. Maybe when were you at 20?
It would have been about 10 years.
2014.
This is going to be my 13th year.
Yeah.
So I coached 4 years at Norris, so it would have been almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. And dude, we had a fun time. A couple of your concerts.
Yep, that's right.
I'm pretty sure people still asking for the music.
Yep, that's long gone. Especially now I'm doing this, man. There's just like, I'm teaching overages. You're coaching after school. You got 3 kids. I'm taking master classes. So it's pretty much from 4 a.m. till 9:30 at night is go, and then sleep and then wake up. So I mean, there's only so much you can do.
So we talk about OPS, we talk about Northwest, and of course it's all about you're turning these athletes to understand that they are better than who they thought they were. They're going to be better than what everybody else thinks they are.
Yeah.
What is so important in the number one thing that you want to get for these kids that maybe other coaches don't try to get for them at that at some of these schools,
The
and
biggest-
they constantly throw out it's OPS.
The biggest thing when I first came, I'm from Colorado Springs, so I wasn't born and raised here. So I got here in 2012, and OPS was the queen of everything, basketball, football, all that stuff. And then as time has kind of trickled on, you have the recruiting, you have the open enrollments, you have the transfers. And it's like that back home too. I have conversations with my dad, and Colorado Springs kind of getting the same way, to where back in the day, your raw talent was always inner city. But now with all the recruiting stuff, a lot of your OPS kids are now transferring to those suburban schools. And you know what? As a parent, I get it too, because they have more resources. They have certified strengthening conditioning staff, like we talked about with Bennington, Papio South, and stuff like that. So I think that's one thing that OPS, that was kind of my big thing as well. I want our kids to have that equal opportunity, right? To where it's not fair that, number one, a lot of these suburban kids, their mom and dad can just throw, $300, $400, $500 a month to go do this personal trainer over here, or they get it at their own school too. And it's like, well, let's provide that for our kids, And so that's why I wanted to go back and get my master's in exercise science and do it the right way, so our kids, I think the biggest thing is, like you said, to give them the confidence, but it's also, we don't really think about it like this from an outsider, but it's injury prevention. A lot of the injuries, your ACLs, concussions, could have been prevented by the right exercises and stuff like that. So injury prevention. And then our biggest struggle, biggest disconnect at the schools I've been to, Omaha South and Northwest, is when those kids have the ability to get to college, our kids end up not even making it in about a week or so, because there's such a big difference in the training and all of that. So my biggest thing too is, all right, the school, yes, we want to prepare them for college, right? Class wise. But now my job is also, how can I prepare you for college as an athlete? And, now we got like the velocity based training and all this stuff. So now it's like, hey, this stuff is pretty much a college course that you would be, for if you're going to go play college. So it's a little bit easier and not as overwhelming when you get to that college spectrum. So,
and when you think of the biggest thing that you're giving these kids is an opportunity, what's keeping them to come back every time? And how is the attendance? Because I always notice that's the hardest thing.
That's the hardest.
Locking them in.
So, so Northwest, I call it Northwest good. Our kids, we don't have much competition yet. I'm going to say yet. We're getting there. But there's a trap to where the kid knows they're good enough to play, so they don't have to work, right? And so they can just show up, don't even necessarily have to go like to all the practices, and they can show up and still play because they're by far the best one. And so we're trying to fight that. We also, Northwest, a lot of families, if you come from an athletic family, you're maybe going to other schools, right? Because we haven't developed that trust yet within the community, which we're getting there, right? That's why we're doing it. But what we've done this year is, with the technology our admin has got us, is we're testing vertical, we're testing speed, we're testing broad jump every month. And then as soon as we started doing that, the light switch came on. So we're like, I don't know if I'm not allowed to cuss on this, right?
You could cuss. No, you're good.
The light switch came on going, oh shit.
Yeah. No,
like it's working. And man, just to see their face, especially those first couple months with the kid, like we literally had kids go from 27-inch verticals to 38 within half a season, right? Just because, number one, our kids never trained before. So just by them training properly, I mean, you get that huge, that huge first step to where when you first start training, that's when you see the most results. And then they're starting to see that every month they're getting that reassurance to where, hey, whatever I'm doing is working. And so that kind of gives them more motivation. And then as far as like the summer goes, our volleyball team has got it down to where, and shout out to our Omaha Northwest volleyball. If you're an OPS athlete in middle school and you're thinking about playing volleyball, go to Northwest, because we have great coaches, The difference between a good team and a great team is what? I'm gonna test you, put you on the spot.
They want to do the extra.
Well,
they want to get better.
Instead of being coach led, they're what?
They're player led.
Accountability. And our girls hold each other accountable. And so it wasn't even from the coaches. The girls are like, hey, we're gonna make it mandatory that we go to weights this summer. And our attendance from our volleyball team has just been extraordinary. And but they have fun. Like, we have the music going. They do their set. They're happy. They dance for 5 seconds. But all right, now they're locked in, right? But spotting the next person, whatever. So that right there is having that camaraderie. But like I said, they're gonna see it on the court this year. They're gonna be more successful, and by them kind of locking in and finding that success, hopefully other teams will kind of start to catch on. Boys basketball is kind of getting there. Coach Perry is another phenomenal coach. He's working his butt off for those kids. Those kids we're starting to see that through this year. And obviously they're real young, but once they get to learn, it's like anything else. It's a transition. The weight room is going to teach you adversity. When you're having a great day, 135 pounds is going to be 135 pounds. When you're having a horrible day, 135 pounds is still going to be 135 pounds. So you have to figure it out and get that weight up.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of one of those things to where when you can go through adversity and handle that competition, it translates to the court, and that kind of just gives them that mental toughness too. So
what do you think has been possibly a struggle that you had, and even if it is with the athletes to accept whatever that struggle is, on what do you think that you had to overcome so far? Let's just say this summer. What do you think?
The biggest thing is just consistency. And like I said, it's the biggest trap we've had is just we just don't know how to work. And we don't know what work is. And then as soon as something gets tired, we want to quit. And we just had a conversation about this the other day. I always say you have to choose your hard. To where any direction you go in life is going to be hard no matter what. If you want to be a rich, successful millionaire, it's going to be hard, right?
Yeah.
To get there and even to stay on top, it's going to be hard. If you want to not do anything in school and be broke off your ass, well, it's going to be hard because you still have to pay bills. You have to find food, all that stuff. So we talk about, hey, if you have to choose your hard, go through your bumps and bruises in the off season. So your season is going to be more fun and more successful,
more fruitful, man.
Fruitful.
More gains.
But if you want to play around and have an easy summer, your season's going to be hard. So just realizing it, no matter what path you choose, you're gonna run into your hard. And hopefully they're starting to realize now, let's go through the hard work now, so that stuff is going to be a little bit easier down the road.
See, and I like what you're putting out here, because this is everything that I want for a parent, a student, someone to just watch and understand how important, and whether it's having a NFL player on the show, whether it's having an MLB, you guys are all saying the same thing. You can be a professional. You can be someone that just played college ball and is now coaching. Either way, you're still teaching. Every time you have to want it more than the others. You can't just hope that the one's going to be there. Some of your skilled players, how do you think you can find connections with them? And also maybe reiterate some of their close friends to keep that connection big? What do you think is going to be your biggest struggle?
I mean, the number one is just the relationship, and then getting them to trust. And like I said, it's because kids will flat out tell me at the beginning of the year, I don't want to be in this class. I don't want to work. And it's like, well, let's, just either way into it. And then they kind of start to see the results. I think once they start to see the results, then things start clicking. But at the same time, we have developed so many years of just these habits of not doing anything and expecting everything, or that just fear of success. I think our biggest thing is our kids are so afraid to try and then fail, right? Because they're afraid to put everything in it and still fail. But we also have to realize there's a lot of learning from failure. And that's one of the biggest things in life is overcoming those obstacles and figuring out, hey, I put everything in. That's fine. But there's still something I did wrong, right? And then that's another thing we always talk about is, pain is temporary, regret lasts forever. Once again, go through this pain now. Yes, you're tired. Maybe you want to throw up, right? But if you don't go through those things, then you live with regret for the rest of your life, And I have tons. I don't go home as much as I used to, but some of those kids I was around in high school, kind of the same mentality, are still doing the same things they were doing when they're 18, 17 years old, and always talking about high school and, oh, I wish I would have done this. And that's just the type of mentality that they've had, and that's why they haven't progressed in life. And that's the beauty about athletics, is athletics teaches you so much on how to handle life in itself. But at the same time, once you reach a milestone, cool, now what's the next one? Right? Complacency is the devil, to where I think we're just so complacent on all these things, and that's why we don't my bad. I just fumbled
You're
my
all
words.
good.
But
You're
I
all
got so
good.
much going on. And honestly, too, that's just kind of where depression comes from. When we can't progress in life, and then we're stuck, and then we dwell on these things. Well, that's why our society is so, anxiety and depression, because we don't do anything.
We don't react or change something to make it better.
Yeah.
When you look at your guys' school as a whole, is it still allowing you to connect to those who might not be an athlete but just want to live better?
Yeah,
Because I think that's also a thing that sometimes gets scary, right? I don't play any sports. Why should I go to this? How can you get those kids to understand? Because I wish, if there was one thing that I had out of high school, was a work ethic at just my body.
Yeah.
I have the work ethic. I work my tail off, multiple jobs. I'm just like you. Start at 4 a.m., might get home at 10 if I'm lucky. But the body is a whole different thing. What is that connection like with just some regular kids that aren't the athletes?
So this next year will be the first year I'll be full-time in the weight room. I was always in the classroom teaching sports nutrition, then just taught the athletic weight room classes. But it's kind of the same policy, to where you have one body, right? And you're only fortunate enough to have one body throughout your lifetime. Your body is a sculpture to a certain point. We have genetics, but when you step into the weight room, it's like when you take your car to the car shop, you're getting it worked on. You can put different things on it, mufflers, whatever, to customize it. You can do the same thing when you step into the weight room. You want bigger shoulders, you can get bigger shoulders. You want a bigger butt, you can get a bigger butt, right? You want bigger arms, you can have bigger arms. And so it's fun to see that. And that's the great thing about weightlifting, is when you put in effort, you are going to reciprocate that within your body. And something I'm kind of doing now is I'm doing online personal training with some people too. And it's crazy to see, like, you have people that, oh man, I haven't fit this t-shirt in like 8 years. My wife is noticing the difference. My wife says I smile more, I have more energy, that type of thing. And when you start to have that, it's as an eternal effect, to where that is that joy, that happiness, that gives you that confidence. And
but there's some sweat, some tears that go through to get that, right?
Though.
Yeah.
As anything in life, if you want to be happy, you have to invest in yourself. And a lot of that is through fitness. You go, and I'm sure you can do this, when you go to Planet Fitness, because you go hella early too, don't you?
Sometimes, yeah.
You can find the most successful people at the gym, right? So I'll go at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I bet you every damn person in there is a successful businessman, businesswoman, teacher, whatever that may be, because they've learned to develop that discipline. And when you invest in yourself, you're investing in everything else. You're investing in your family. You're investing in your kids. You're investing in your job, right?
For me, it's the plates. You start one plate, got it. Oh, that's good. That's where it gets hard, because life happens, and obviously anybody can have the excuses. It's getting through those excuses and making sure that the accountability, finding someone, like you said, you're doing online. Say that again. Online. You don't have to go in person to some of these people.
Yep.
You can do it online. You just have to find someone that you can gel with. I think that's got to be probably one of the biggest keys of even the online, is we got to be able to gel, and they can feel my energy through it all.
Yeah.
What took yourself to keep doing what you're doing and go and know that you're investing in these kids, but also I see your kids starting to want to do things, and you see that they're getting that itch.
Yeah.
You know, it's a simple itch.
Yeah, our kids are, by the way, shout out to Mateo and Luca, my sons today. They had their PRs. We're doing speed all summer with the high school kids. Mateo started at 13.3 miles an hour, finished with 14.22 today,
That a
which
boy.
is awesome. And then Luca, my 6-year-old, started off at 11.7 and he hit 12.55 today. So that was
Okay.
cool. So yeah, they enjoy work. And we got a couple other kids. Coach Drummond's kids are there, so they're not just the youngest ones. But yeah, it's been cool. But I mean, it's just the same thing as getting into teaching. You get into teaching not for the paycheck, but the paycheck is in the seeds that you plant, right? And is in the relationships. Like I said, I want to develop a culture to where, hey, like I want to prepare you for college, or like as we said, even for the kids who aren't athletes, I want to develop confidence within yourself. Right? I think as just human nature, you just want to, you want to affect other people in whatever gift you're given. And that just kind of happens to be my gift, is being able to not only relate and build relationships, but how can I motivate you to invest in yourself, invest in your body? So that's been cool. And like I said, it's seeing my kids kind of starting to attach on to it and seeing their confidence kind of grow with that. But it's everything when you see the kids, the high school kids as well. Confidence, just it's like I said, when you get that PR, just that, oh, I did that, and that's awesome. So,
And I'm sure, and I of course wasn't a teacher, I was a coach, but even as a coach, one smile is worth 100 smiles compared to one sad face. Is half of that. You're like, man, how can I change this? But one smile, you're like, I did what needed to be done, and that just, when your battery's low, when you're tired, that's the thing that will get you yourself personally. Obviously, using what you have, the tools that you have. How is the support on that? Is there stuff that people can probably help out with these schools to get, like,
number one, shout out to our administration. Our administration has been, we were just kind of talking about that before we got on here, but super supportive. Anything I'm kind of asking for, I mean, I think they realize how much athletics matters in school, to where if you start to develop good athletics, there's more there's higher morale, there's more pride and stuff like that. People want to go to school, right? And they want to do well in the classroom. So they have been super supportive. They've been with me every step of the way. So I've been very, very fortunate to be in that situation, because I know I'm in a group chat with these other strength and conditioning coaches from around the country, and a lot of them are, my AD's this, my AD's that. I'm like, well, I don't got that problem. But so the support has been great. As I would say, as a district, I kind of talked about seeing if we could establish something with our head PE guy, and I don't know if the district is able to kind of, like, how Coach Pullman, he's not a certified teacher. He's just and that district contracts him out. I'm not sure exactly how. OPS, I don't think, is able to do that. I'm not a higher up, so I don't know. But I think what we're trying to do, and there's other coaches that are obviously trying to get on that same boat, but we kind of just have to do it ourselves, which is okay. But
when you're a self-starter, that doesn't matter to you. That's the thing. I think one thing I got from Busty, when I had him on the show and we were talking about the kids that you have to deal with and talking nutrition. Nutrition's not easy. You don't know other people's money situations. You don't know the family situation. You don't know. All you can do is provide what you can provide. How have you kind of adjusted? Because I know Busty, one thing he said was, all that I want my power lifters to do is get calories. I don't care if it's 5 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. If it's, everybody wants to say, oh, go get that chicken, go get that steak, go get that. Some of these kids can't do that. How are you helping these kids understand intake is sometimes intake for their age, because they're burning it off and the stuff that you're working on, but obviously still having to pick and choose?
I mean, I guess powerlifting is kind of different, to where you, like you said, you're trying to get as mas you can. As an athlete, I know when I taught nutrition class, it's, how you fuel your body is going to be dependent on how the biggest difference between a great athlete and a good athlete is how fast you recover. How fast you recover, number one is sleep, which our kids have a hard time doing. Sleep is number
Get
one.
those phones put away.
Nutrition is number two. But teaching them the ins and outs, like in my nutrition class, we just broke it down. All right, what's the biggest thing that why our country is so unhealthy and overweight? Well, because healthy food costs more. All right, let's see. Let's break it down because that's what society tells us, right? Society likes to tell us a lot of things. I'm not going to go down that road, but
I go to get a salad. And the double cheeseburger costs $1, and I'm spending $7 for a salad.
All right. So how much would a McDonald's meal be?
I don't know
right now. Like
They're
what? $10? Okay,
yeah.
cool. I'll go to Walmart. I'll get me a couple chicken breasts, some rice, and a green pepper for that same price. I'm getting twice as much nutrients. I'm getting greater carbs. I'm getting vitamins and minerals and fiber from the pepper, and I'm probably able to feed 4. That McDonald's meal is going to feed 1, and you're getting processed carbohydrates, sugar, the PUFAs, the bad fats from all the fries, and you got your Coke, your sugar, and all that stuff. So you might be getting the same amount of calories, but the calories in the chicken, the rice, and the pepper is going to do so much for you. And it's, once again, you're feeding one person for $10, or for the same amount of $10, you can feed your whole family and maybe even have leftovers. But society has told us for the longest time that it is cheaper to be unhealthy. It actually isn't. Like, you go to the store, one of my go-tos for if we don't have a meal or if I need a snack, those little tuna packets. You can get flavored tuna packets for $1, right? All right, how much do chips cost? A bag of chips, what?
Like $3-4.
So I'll get 4 tuna packets. Each tuna packet, I have 15 grams of protein. It's 90 calories. I'm getting fat. So it's like, it's out there. You just have to know how to do it. So I mean, I that is I don't know. I want to say an excuse, but it's just knowledge, and that's where knowledge is power. To where there's so many different options out there for you, right? Instead of spending $10 on soda, spending on all these snacks, take that money and spend it elsewhere, right? I mean, we have kids that go out to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at McDonald's, Burger King, and all that. So you're dropping like $30
to $40
on a person.
Yeah.
Okay, just spend that money on some groceries. Yes, you might have to cook it yourself, but that investment is going to give you so much more in return.
All right.
So
I like that. Lay it down. All right. We'll get you out of here on this. Goals for this year. What I mean, even prior to this year, where did you have goals for this whole program, and where do you continue to see it maybe in 5 years?
Long term is just developing that trust within those OPS families, to where bring your athletes to our school. We have some great coaches, certified strength and conditioning staff, okay, right? To where we're doing things proper. We can train you right. Long term, start to see some winning programs compete, right? Short term, like next year, let's get some people winning some track events again. I know we had a couple gold medalists this year. Our girls rocked it. Let's have a couple. Let's have some boys get some. I want the football team to win some games, right? I want the basketball team to start winning some games. I want volleyball to they're competitive. Well, let's step that up a little bit and start to be one of the top tier teams in the state, especially within the OPS. So that's what I would like to see. And then, long story short, with all the recruiting stuff, I don't want our school to be an FCS program anymore, to where if we develop a kid, another school recruits them. I want to develop that trust with the kid. The parents say, yes, stay here and trust the process, trust us, and you'll be able to get to where you want to be. And I think that's the biggest thing, is to where we're starting to develop these kids. But by the time they're sophomores, they got some film.
Fishing.
Now we're getting plucked by all these suburban schools. So that's the big thing. Like I said, it's not even just Northwest. I just want OPS, right? I want OPS to kind of get that back. And that would be awesome.
Well, let people know how they can find you. That way, one, check out some of the videos he's posting. That way, I promise you're going to see the heart, the dedication, not just from him, but these kids that want to be a part of it. Because I tell everybody this, everybody wants to be a part of something. And until you find that something, whether it's a smile here, smile there, you have no idea what is waiting for you. How can they find you and what can they check you out on so then they can see all that action?
Twitter is Axcess Peace, and that is AXCESS, just like
That's
homie
right.
took
That's right. That's right. And I'm wearing the
RAS.
concert
There we
concert
go.
t-shirt.
So
you
once
know?
again, Axcess Peace on Twitter. My TikTok, I think is coach.hammond14. And that's HAMMOND. So those are my socials. And I just post those workout videos on that just for the kids, my kids, some of the kids I train, but it's just fun, positive stuff, man. And those are things that the whole point of that too is obviously I know not everyone can afford stuff. Well, you can kind of look at our videos, some of the videos I break it down. So as a parent, you can do that stuff with your kids at home. And so
Yeah, I mean, some are in your backyard.
yeah,
So they're not.
You don't need a gym or nothing. Just find a field, backyard. We got some little hurdles, ladders. We're good to go. So,
well, once again, DJ K-Dub Omaha, Coach Hammond's out at Northwest doing some things for those kids, getting them to believe in themselves, and that's what we love to share. Hopefully, we find you, the one parent, the one student that needs that motivation to go, I can do this, and they're going to show me how. Once again, Wired Access, Hurrdat Sports Production. We'll see you next time.
Come to Northwest.